but I just want to welcome everybody today to the Art Together, June 8th, 2021. And we are visiting with Eilzabeth Nancy Jansen, who is a love relationship expert and author of the book Bride Doll. And she is from Toronto. And we are so pleased to have you here with us and eager to hear your story about how painting helped you heal, about healing in general, and finding your true love and how you can make that a reality in your own life. So Eilzabeth, tell us a little bit about yourself and what we're going to hear about today.
Well, first of all, Lisa, I really want to thank you for having me on this program. And we've just known each other for a short time, but it really is wonderful to know you. And I really appreciate this opportunity to be here. So what brought me here is our conversation we had together. And really in our discussion, what brought me here was, the pain, actually, a pain and a need for healing. And I went through a very difficult time in my life. And really what happened was the short story, the backstory of what really made me literally fall, was the birth of my fourth child, my son Michael. He was born with autism, and classic autism, and he's now 25 years old, and he's wonderful. But what really brought me to my knees was the fact that I couldn't cope with the challenges of him being profoundly autistic. He was diagnosed when he was age 4, but by 6 months, I knew he was certainly not like my other 3 children. He was not speaking. He was not, he wasn't making the milestones. And I knew there was something very significantly different about this child. And I saw that it was wrong. I saw that he was very abnormal. And that's the way I ran with it. And I couldn't make this child normal. Unfortunately, I didn't accept. It just wore me right down. So, and the way I coped with, I'll just give you a quick example of what the day looked like. So I'll give you let's say he's 8, he's in grade 3. I had a full-time job. I had 3 other children. The youngest was Michael, of course, and his older sibling, next oldest, was Nicola, and she was 10, going to a different school, and rushing to get them ready in the morning. He would be having a temper tantrum. Husband was very detached. He wanted nothing to do with it. The other 2 were off to university, significantly older, and no one was having a good time. The responsibility was on me. I had a directorship job as a physiotherapist, had to get to some meeting somewhere, likely in a different city. I had all of southwestern Ontario to cover, and he was having a temper tantrum, and his bus was in the driveway to take him to school. So that's what it looked like. And by noon, I would be getting a call from his school, come and pick him up. He's not coping. So that was a usual day. Oh, and by the way, he kicked out he kicked out the school bus window. That was like a typical day. And he's being expelled from school because he bit the teacher. That's the kind of, so that accumulated. So that's kind of one day. So my coping mechanism turned to drinking, and you can imagine how that turned out. Not well. So crashed and burned in 2008, and but went into recovery. The good news is I went into recovery, and I can see my dear friend Ruth is joining us. And went into recovery, and Ruth is my dear sponsor. So, and when I went into recovery, I also, in recovery, my sponsee actually at the time, she was quite an artist. And she invited me to an art lesson. She had received at an auction she and her husband had been at, for tickets to, or 4 people could go to an art lesson. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can only paint stick figures. Now I don't want to take a place and use up one of these places at a beautiful art lesson. She said, no, I want you to come. I thought, oh gosh, I felt pressure. I can't draw anything. I can't, I'm not worthy of, uh, please don't make me do this. I don't deserve this. I went, and I went to this beautiful little town in Bayfield, Ontario, and there was a art studio. I'd never been to an art studio in my life, and the artist sat us all down. Of course, my sponsee was a very, I'm going to say, sophisticated artist, but she went and she was learning a new technique, and the artist, the teacher, she handed me a piece of canvas, and I had no idea what to do, but she knew what to do with me. And she said, how about some textured acrylic? And we'll give you an idea. How about, I had no idea where to start. She said, well, how about looking at these photographs? And still had no idea what to start. And she said, well, let me show you this technique. And so she gave me a roll of toilet paper and some glue, and she gave me some colors, and I just kind of relaxed with it. And this is the painting that turned out. And I'm going to call it, this is my Genesis painting. And it's the beginning of how things turned around for me. And it's, me coming from that horrible place of, hitting my rock bottom to a beautiful place of recovery where my whole life turned around. So it's a genesis. And from toilet paper to what I saw as something totally turned around to a new activity or a new creativity that I wasn't ever able to think possible that I could do. So I never thought that I would, be able to do something so beautiful. So from something so bad turned out to be something so beautiful. So to me, it's gorgeous. So, and it's toilet paper. So it's called Genesis, or AKA, otherwise known as From Shit to Glory, So it's very meaningful to me. And it's, in purple's my favorite colors, and from, gold metallic. And then, so from that painting, I went on to the one behind me. And you can see, oh, I'm just stuck here behind my table. I'm just going to take this one. And this is a breath of God. And it's a big wave. So it's the textured acrylic. And you can see that I'm into jewels and everything. So I hope you can see the pearls in that. So from sand on the bottom, with a big wave or a big breath or a big blow, there is, the creation of pearls. So that's the thought behind you know, from a very simple technique, one lesson, I was able to take it to something on a bigger piece of canvas. So, you know, was this healing? Absolutely, absolutely. So in my recovery, so that was 2008, and my recovery has gotten very, very strong. And I have not had a relapse or anything since 2008. And I'm very grateful. This is one of the first times I've really talked about my alcoholism outside of AA. In public. I'm a very private person, so this is a big step, and I'm happy that Ruth is on this Zoom call with me. But now that my book is coming out, and in my book it talks about my journey, it's a beautiful love story, but it was the artwork, it was the pushing myself, but the art really was the point of me finding my healing, the first step in finding that creativity, in pushing myself to stretch into that place of healing. And you know, the creativity of the painting, which really takes you into that moment. You know, when you're painting, you're living in the moment. When you're in disease, the disease of alcoholism, you're in fear, you're fearing the future, and or you're regretting the past. You know, you're not in the present moment when you're in the disease. But when you're in the moment, you're in the healing. And when you're painting, you're in the healing. So it was the healing of working with my Genesis painting that really got me started.
Thank you for sharing your story. I'm very touched because we did have a private conversation when we met through Facebook. Social media is so powerful, and we connected on a lot of different levels. One of them, of course, was the healing through painting, and the fact that we have been through this bumpy road in relationships, and that you're working on this book to share your story, which I think is beautiful. And I'm very humbled to know that this is the first public place you're sharing that. I didn't realize you were doing that. So I just want to take a minute to honor you. And I'm just touched by that. And know that it's very real for me, that these are real connections we make here in the Global Art Cafe. This time today is a little extended because it's our monthly Art Together time. And I'm glad we have a little more time because it's a big subject. We're talking about raising an autistic child, dealing with alcoholism, the journey through life and love, and the challenges and how we overcome them. That's a big thing. It's been a big thing in my life, overcoming obstacles. And yes, let's see more of this painting that helped you to heal and manifest the good things in your life. It's my mission now to help others see how they can use art to heal and manifest wonderful abundance.
Yeah.
Share more about your story.
Okay, so yes, the abundance. I will start. So I'm going to take you for a little journey around my beautiful home. I do have a beautiful passion of motorcycling. So that's me on a motorcycle, and that's a painting I commissioned. So,
awesome.
Yes.
You're so fun. I've loved seeing that side of you.
This beautiful man here.
We hear him.
We hear him. Arnoldus.
Did I hear him laughing?
This beautiful man, I just wanted to know, you might want to take your glasses off so maybe if we can see the resemblance. This is a fusion painting of the Peggy's Cove that's in Nova Scotia, Canada. And the painting that, or the actual mini, we have it on our property, a small version I don't know if you could see the beautiful property we have, and that's Lake Erie out there.
Oh, beautiful.
And we're right opposite. If you went 50 miles across, you'd hit Cleveland. So we've got a beautiful, from a very bad place in my life, I do live in abundance and luxury, so sobriety is a wonderful thing, as I often say to myself. I've got a huge canvas downstairs, and I'm going to be working on a piece. I'm excited to be working on it, but my book has taken up a fair bit, as is my business, a fair bit of my time, but I'm going to be trying some abstract work, gold leaf.
Ooh, that sounds fun. Do you have a subject in mind or topic?
I wanted to be working with some indigo blue, as you know,
Yes.
and gold leaf.
Ooh, that'll be gorgeous.
Something horizontal
Mm.
so that it will look nice when I'm filming behind me.
Okay.
Yes.
So kind of a backdrop. So that's the purpose of it in the end.
So,
That'll
right.
be those colors will be fabulous together.
So I have
So
this.
tell us a little bit about your book.
Okay, so my book is a fiction novel, and it's a romance. So for a love relationship expert, what better to do than write a romance novel?
Mm-hmm.
And so this romance novel is the bones of it essentially are memoir. And it goes through the uh, love relationships essentially of uh, French Canadian women. My background is French Canadian. And of my mother's relationship with my father. So French Canadian woman, very vibrant. And then the main character is Naya, and she then marries at age 21 and the challenges of that marriage. And then having two children, and then the challenges of a second marriage. So the first marriage, marrying with the intention of great love. However, what happens is, certainly believing in the vows of a traditional young, married for the right reasons, but life happens, and deceit happens, infidelity, and the tragedy of that. And then married for the second time, falling in love, same love habits, going in with falling for the same kind of love patterns and stepping into the similar potholes, not following her own, not knowing her own core values, and having a second marriage that does not work out. And then after several challenges again, but then Naya does some real soul searching and discovers who Naya is. And she discovers her own authenticity, her own self-love, really discovers who Naya is, and discovers so many passions that she has. Naya loves to travel. Naya loves to do all kinds of wonderful things. And then she figures out what true love is. And she has some really positive love experiences and figures out really what love is all about. And many of the step-by-step program that I have, many of the elements of it are in the book. So the ending is quite a beautiful story. So I'm not going to spoil the ending for you.
So what made you, because you were in the health field, correct? So tell us how that transition came to be and what you're doing now.
So I was a healthcare professional, physiotherapist, and well, in the healthcare profession, I was very caring, nurturing, caring. There's hard separate. There is a a small degree of separation from caring to loving, right? You're caring for your patients and helping them get well, helping them, let's say a stroke patient, you're in their space, you're actually helping them move, to sit up again, to stand up again, to help move again. So you're right in their personal space. Um, you're almost blended with them to support them.
Mhm.
So the relationship you have with that individual is, so it was not a hard transition for me uh, to have, and the relationship you have with that person is also the relationship you have with the family, because they're putting so much heart into you helping their loved one. So it was not a hard transition for me to go into that caring, so much caring for, uh, uh, just retiring. Uh, I'm 66 years old. I've been to retire. I look at it as rewire. There's still so much love in me, and I have so much love around me in my home. I just don't want to sit and garden and I love motorcycling and all the rest of it and painting, but I have so much to give. Oh,
Uh-oh.
you know what that you know what that lovely alarm is? At 4 o'clock, my husband makes me a cappuccino every day. Isn't that lovely?
Oh,
Isn't
how
that lovely?
perfect is that?
How perfect is that?
So what would you say your current mission or vision is for what you're going to do moving forward? What would you like to tell everyone?
It's all about love. It's all about love. My mission is to nurture love. So continued love for myself. I have a huge amount of self-love. And it started with painting. It did.
Mhm.
The genesis happened. But in order to give love, I have to generate it from self-love. And I want to nurture love within my family, with my husband. And I want other people to have love. I want to help people find love. And if they don't have it, I want them to be brave enough to get unstuck to find it. I want to help them find it.
So who is the person that would most benefit working from you right now? If you could describe your ideal client.
My ideal client is a woman who has had love before, but perhaps, be it a loss of a death of a husband or a lover, or who has, an unfaithful husband who has lost love,
Mhm.
and who perhaps is stuck or afraid to find love again, who really but wants it, but needs help, but
Right.
needs who does not want to repeat the pattern again. So that woman who is afraid to not to just who is afraid to just go out there and put the fishing pole in the ocean, you know, who wants to be selective, who wants clarity and focus. That's the client.
Gotcha. I'll ask one more question, then I'm going to open it up to our people who are listening here, joining us today. But let's give them like one nugget, like a tip. If they didn't work with you and they left today and had you gave them one thing to do, what would be the best thing they could do if they're looking for love right now?
The best tip I would give them is do something you absolutely love. Be passionate about it, because that's when you light up. So, quick example, when I ride my motorcycle, I light up.
Hmm.
And, or when I'm painting, I light up. And when you're lit all, shining and you're joyful, that's when people want to come to you. Hey, how are you? What's your name? And that's when you're going to attract. That's when you're going to attract the person who wants to meet you.
Mhm. That applies both in general relationships and love relationships, right? Like when we're in our best place, that's when we attract the people that we most want to have in our lives. And we have to be careful with that,
Confidence attracts.
right? So let's go out and see who has a question for Eilzabeth. Anybody?
Yeah. Hi,
ahead.
I'm Laura Field. I wanted to tell you that I worked in Minneapolis Public Schools in an autism program with autistic kids. And I want to say that I'm really sorry that you and your child went through that. That sounded awful. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm also single, so
Are you taking notes?
well, I don't know. Like, I don't have my notepad because I'm sitting somewhere different, but I'm taking mental notes.
We can listen later on the podcast, right? If anyone misses it or you have someone you know that wants to hear it. Any questions or anyone else want to ask away?
Just DM me, just message me if you want to connect. I will give you 20 minutes free coaching to ask questions. That would be great.
Appreciate that. That'd be great.
I have a question, Nancy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a certain age group that you feel you'd like to work with, or what distinctions between ages might you have?
Any woman, 18, adult woman.
Okay.
You know, even younger women who want to not fall into potholes, you know, or
Mhm.
you know, even someone in their 80s, you know, who want to have an adult, a male companion.
Sybil's waving.
Yeah. Who want to have a gentleman friend, you know. My husband was
I
in his 70s when I met him.
I think that speaks to, when you make your program, they're individual. And, at each age, maybe every 20 years, we transition in our lives into another phase of, should I say, development or maturity. And that, I think, is really valuable, that when you make your program and your workbook, they're individually honed for the person that's sitting in front of you. Bravo, Nancy. And I want to say to everyone that you see this beautiful spirit outside, and her spirit is just as beautiful on the inside. I have to say that. And I worked in the healthcare field as well, and I worked side by side with physiotherapy. And it may seem, hard to consider a physiotherapist to a life coach, but there are so many things in that field. Like I always found the physiotherapists to be journey people right along as the patient would transition from, goal to goal. And they were always positive coaches and really saw the good in people and just were so encouraging. So I see a direct connection. I think that's a wonderful thing for you to do after all those years in the healthcare. And now it's a complete and wonderful transition for you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Ruth. Yeah.
Anyone else?
I have a question.
Great, go ahead.
So, the man that showed up earlier, he was your husband, right?
Yes, my wonderful husband.
So, what was different about him when you met him, or when did you realize that he was the one?
Oh, I'm so glad. Okay, I knew he was the one because he was doing something of absolute core value. I have a core value of kindness and compassion. And I saw him in action doing something very beautiful. So I saw him across a room. We were in we were in a party, a fundraiser, and he didn't know me and I didn't know him, and there were 100 people in the room, and it was a fundraiser for a family of 6 children, and the mother and the father both died in the same year of cancer, and the 6 children were left essentially with no parents. And my motorcycle girlfriend and I were hosting the event. So anyway, to raise money to help these kids for back to school things, new running shoes, backpacks, and anyway, he came with some other people. So he was over there talking to the kids, and he was engaging with the kids, talking to them. And I could see he was being very kind. Like, he was unaware of he was more interested in the kids at the event and making sure they had food and just being extra kind, not concerned about the party going on, but more involved with the kids. And I thought, now there's a quality man. That's the man. He was so compassionate. I had to go over and say, hello, I'm Eilzabeth Nancy. And that's how, and I started engaging in a conversation. So he was in action with core values that were my core values. I saw them in action. So that's how I met him. I hope I answered your question.
I can relate to that because when I first was meeting my now husband, also my third, we have that in common. There was a reason it took us a while to meet because he was busy volunteering and serving at his church. And it just took a long time for us to finally connect because that was his value system, that took priority. You say part of that is realizing that's what you want. Like this is something that you're looking for in your partner, something that you value. I don't know about you, but it's like, wouldn't you like to speed the process up for other women? That's why we're here. We want to help men as well, right? Like find true love, but also I think women, we're not as, would you say it's fair statement to say we're not as always as confident? Some women are in who they are. And so then we make choices maybe that aren't the best for us along the way.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I know a couple of people missed your paintings in the beginning. Maybe show the one behind you and talk again about that. And what role did it play in your healing process?
So the one behind me is the breath of God. And it's textured acrylic. And it is, so really, it's really meaningful to me in that the breath of God, it really was a cleansing and healing in my course of recovery from a very point of my life where I crashed and burned in total despair, from a devastating point of pain. And I went into recovery, and painting was very much a healing point, brought me back into, along with my recovery of the 12-step program, but brought me into helping me living in the now. So this painting is, the texture part is actually just toilet paper and glue. And then I used gold flecks and silver flecks and just crystals to give the diamond look. And then there are pearls in the center here. So it's like the image is like the breath of God blowing up sand, creating pearls and a big wave. So that's my painting.
And how would you, as a writer, how would you tell the story of that painting as it relates to your life? How would you bring that together?
Oh, that's such a beautiful question, Lisa.
Thank you.
So from the very bottom of the sand, you know, God has blown me from the bottom of my, despair, and brought out the very gifts that were always in me, and blown and refreshed and found all my crystals, my
Mm,
imperfections, and brought all the diamonds and I glitter in glory.
beautiful. And one of the questions, Laura knows this one really well from Soul Collage. When we interpret our artwork, we say, I am one who. And if you had to say, I am one who, what would you say in relation to this painting?
Emily, I am one who really loves to glitter
Yeah.
and glow.
And maybe shine like a diamond.
Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
Diamond in the rough. And now you're just shining for everyone to see now. That's what a beautiful story. Whatever you put on paper has a story to tell. And that's what I like to talk about and bring out in these conversations. And that's why we're here talking with you. And I know Sybil didn't get to see your Genesis painting, and maybe also my mom's in the house, Ruth Ann, you can see her here. She's from northern Minnesota. Let's talk about that. I love the story, and I think she'll appreciate the whole reference you made, because what it was made with. Again, you use toilet paper. So talk about that again, because that's such a great story.
Okay, so my very first art class, I could only, didn't feel worthy to go to the art class because I could only draw stickmen, and my sponsee insisted I come. And so I bravely went, and the art teacher gave me this piece of canvas and toilet paper and glue and some paints, and she showed me what to do with the toilet paper and a bit of water and the glue. And so I made this ball and created this with the color, and poof, it was like a bomb that went off in my life, so this is Genesis. So my whole life has Genesis of a new life, a new start. And the other name for it is AKA, or otherwise known, from shit to glory. So I was at a bad place, and now the bomb went off, and now it's only up, only to glory.
A new life.
A new life. And that's exactly what happened from that point on.
Sometimes you just gotta say it like it is, right?
Yes.
It's not always pretty, the process.
It's pretty.
The process is not always pretty. I can vouch for that. But you made it look good. You made it look beautiful. That toilet paper looks amazing.
I think so.
Right? It does. It looks like like something you'd see in the stars in the sky, and this beautiful thing that happens out there. People listening, if they're listening as a podcast, they can't see this, and they're imagining toilet paper on a canvas, right? But it looks amazing. It's gold gold.
Yeah.
Formation of stars and new life. It is really beautiful. I'm not being funny, but I think that's just it's a huge testament to how art and using anything you have in your house can create something beautiful, right? Like what's the weirdest thing you've used in creating an art project? I've got some people here. I know they've tried something different. What's something weird, Laura? I'm going to call you out. What's the weirdest thing you've used in creating a piece of art that you like it turned out? That would surprise you.
I'm trying to think. When I was in high school, I had this like broom that was like a metal broom, and I made like a piece with a mask on it.
Okay.
Anything recently? Records, melting records.
Okay. Melting records. How about you, Sybil? Do you have anything that was a little bit weird you used in a painting or project?
No, I can't really say that I have. I had a polymer clay face that I had made a pin out of. It was a part of, it was 3 or 4 faces on the pin, and it broke off. And then one day I put it into one of my abstract paintings.
Right.
And so the face is there on the canvas. So that turned out okay.
I'm going to put you on the spot, Sybil. So you caught part of the Elizabeth's story. Is there anything that stands out to you? Do you have any insight you want to share?
Well, she did mention the 80 age.
So talk to us from that demographic.
Well, from that demographic, where were you when I was in my 40s?
Yeah.
I was married for 16 years to the bad boy, and he was also an alcoholic. And so that ended. And then I was in a few relationships, and one was really, really special. Then he passed away. And then I protected my singledom. One, I had 2 kids I was raising. But then later, I didn't want that interference. And now there's no way. I sprawl all over the bed now. I used to, for many years, I just kept my 2 inches, but now I think, but I have love in my life. I have my family, I have my friends. And so I'm not without love, nor am I without giving love. So I'm receive and give. So that's a good mixture. And that works for me, especially now. Next week I turn 80. My passion for a while in my 70s was quilting. I worked until I was 72, so I had stress. Once I retired, I didn't have stress.
So now you're enjoying life, loving life.
It's one of the happiest times of my life right now.
That's good. Thank you for sharing that. Lori, do you have a comment? I know that you want to talk about Greg and your true love story.
I have found that my relationship came when I wasn't looking for one. And there's been many things in my life that I have now that didn't come until I learned to be content with where I was. So I met my husband in the dorms at a college in Michigan when we were 19 years old. And earlier that week, I had gotten a diamond ring from somebody who asked me to marry them. Marry him.
But not Greg. You're
not Greg. No,
somebody
I got
else.
the diamond ring, and then I met Greg, who was a high school friend of my fiance's dorm roommate. And when he came to college in the middle of the year, January, his paperwork had been messed up and he didn't have a place to stay. So he brought all his belongings to the one guy that he knew from high school. And my fiance and I were doing something, and when we came in, and he's like, what's all this stuff here, boy? Did the roommate get stuff for Christmas or what? And then Greg came in with the roommate, and I really liked him, and the 4 of us used to hang around just as friends, because Greg didn't know anybody but this one friend, and I hung out with my fiance, and that was his room. So we used to play cards and go for walks and go to basketball games. And then after a few months, we were going to I saw him in the Commons, and we said, let's go to the game. And no one else came. And we were cheering and yelling, and our hands met in the air. And when we sat down, we kept holding hands. And I went to see my fiance. I said, I can't marry you because I like someone else.
Just like
I
that.
had no guarantee of a future with Greg. I just knew that I could not marry someone. I called off my wedding 10 weeks before it was going to happen. Never regretted it once. But there was a time, especially earlier when I married, when I thought, what did I do? You know, we got married while we were still in college. And one time, you know, my daughter said, oh, Dad is such a wonderful husband. I said, well, now.
Here we go.
Well, we both had a lot to learn, and he was a typical young guy. You know, once he caught me, he didn't have to work at it anymore, and I didn't feel cared for. And I remember when we were married, somebody said, oh, how long have you been married? I said, well, 2 years. And if you ask me, that's too long. And I like to tell people I have been very happily married for 42 and a half of the last almost 45 years. And my husband said one time, you thought we had 2 or 3 hard years? I thought it was 2 or 3 hard months. And I said, God bless you and your poor memory. And that's one of the reasons we're still married. But it's work. I mean, it takes work. I'm not always happy with him. He's not always happy with me. There's ups and downs. And we based our marriage after these hard times on commitment, not just on feelings, because feelings ebb and flow, come and go. But we based it on, but there's been no abuse, no alcoholism, no unrepentant, you know, things. We really have worked together as a team. And that's a huge difference because it takes 2. And if you don't have both of those, I also like to say that 20 years of my therapy made me a much better wife. So dealing with my own issues and I just think being in my 60s, like you, Sybil, I mean, I'm more content with myself. I am more grounded. I feel more mature. I feel more at peace. And I think that shows up in relationships as well. Although, see, we're 67. We met when we were 19. So it's pretty hard to imagine my life at some point without him.
Right.
So I try not to do that. But it takes work. And I do think that you get a lot of good relationships. You can meet friends when you're not. I mean, when I moved to Minnesota and I was desperately lonely trying to find a friend, it's just like you couldn't. But when I wasn't looking, and again, trying to concentrate on living my best life is what I find friends. I went to Bible study one morning. I didn't know I was going to meet Lisa, and we talked a minute, and I'm like, oh, hey, let's have coffee. I want to hear more about this graphic design stuff. And that was what, 8 or 10 years ago?
At least.
You know?
Probably longer than that now.
So it wasn't, we weren't like, oh, I need to find a friend. I need to make, it was just like, hey, I want to hear about your interests. That sounds really neat. And so.
Yes. Good information. I think that's so true, is like when you finally start to know yourself better, you make better decisions, you attract better people into your life. But it does take some time to do that. And even a good relationship, it takes work.
It still takes work. There's still times when I'm just like, you know, I'm just going to go for a walk. You know, I need a little time here. Or don't you have somewhere to go? You know, because the working from home and staying home for a year was, you know, a stretch.
Anybody else have thoughts on what makes a true love relationship to them? What does that mean to you? Anybody?
What makes a true love relationship? Well, when you're totally content, totally happy, and when you feel joy, it's all about.
Would you say it starts with you though, in order to have the friendships, the relationships? Because even in a love relationship, don't you think a friendship is essential?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
And, you know, I just forgot the woman who just was speaking, what her name was. Sorry.
Lori.
I think
Mhm.
Lori said something very important, and she didn't use the word boundaries, but boundaries are very important in relationships, in good relationships, and healthy boundaries in true love are very important. Everyone needs to have their own space and their own set of, just what we're doing right now, their own creativity, their own source of creating their own place of joy and their own self-fulfillment, patience. You need that to build your passion, to build your own abundance, to have your own oxygen, so to speak, in order to build your own sense of love, in order to give to someone else. You need that time out of your own beautiful space, your own self-care. So as Lori was saying, don't you have somewhere to go? You need that time to yourself to do what you need to do. And you say that with love. She said it with jokingly, that she needs her time. So that's healthy boundaries. So I mean, my husband, like I have this, I'm in the lower level right now. I have this space. I really have the whole lower level to have my creativity space. He has his space upstairs to his office and where he does his thing. But we have come together for most of the day as well. So having our alone time is very important in that we have something to bring together on a daily basis, like coming together for our cappuccino time. But true love happens on a daily basis, how we nurture our love every day.
I think too that with that friendship comes respect, to
Absolutely.
respect each other, respect the differences, respect the interests, the passions, and the individual. I think that's really a key factor.
If you lose the respect of your lover, your loved one, it goes downhill. If you don't
Yeah.
respect your husband anymore, it goes downhill.
I noticed you brought up something when you were talking about trying painting. You said, I'm not worthy, and I had this experience with my husband when he first started trying to draw. He's like, no, he like literally wouldn't do it because he's like, no, I've been told that I'm not good at this. And so he didn't really want to risk looking bad, like
Exactly.
making that effort. And so it's sort of that same thing that you said, I don't feel worthy to really do this. But in our story, like now we've been together 4 to 5 years. I was somewhere in there. And now he is blossoming because he's in a safe environment with me to try these things. And he's drawing things while I was drawing it, and he's wood burning it. And all of a sudden he's starting to draw his own things, and he's getting that recognition and becoming more comfortable. And people are noticing. It's just a really exciting thing to see when you let yourself go, like you found that healing. And I think he's finding something he never thought he would find joy doing, which I can actually share it. I'm working on, we're collaborating now, and I drew this, and then he's wood burning the background here, and then I'm adding the paint. This beauty would never have happened had I not encouraged him to try it. So, that's my passion, is to encourage people to try to find some joy in trying to do artwork. Even if it's not they think they're horrible at it, you might find some huge relief. And we had the same thought last week. We were talking about podcasting, but it doesn't matter what you're doing in life. These things that we go through and we have these painful experiences, they become our biggest avenues of teaching and having joy and blessing to others. And you just don't know what's going to happen when you tap into that reserve inside of yourself and try different things. Wouldn't you agree with me, Eilzabeth?
Yeah.
What do you think was the biggest surprise to you when you started painting, when you went at it thinking, I don't have any skills. I can't draw a stick person. I'm not worthy of doing this. But when you tried it, how did that change your perspective, your life? How did it affect you? Would you say?
It was shocking. I was shocked that I was told, it was something I learned I was told in grade school. I actually dreaded art class because it was a belief I was carrying from like grade 2. I dreaded art class because my teacher told me I wasn't good at it. And I carried that belief through every art class. Like, I can't do this. So I dreaded it. I'm a very bright student. I went, all the way through university on the dean's honor list, but I was always afraid to never do anything in art because from my grade 2 teacher, silly. So it wasn't until I tried this art class that belief was broken, and it was feeling of joy, like a breath of huge fresh air, like a washing. So that's how I felt. And it was in the moment. It was so refreshing. And then I felt free to try it again and keep going with it. And I looked forward to doing it again and again.
It's so interesting because I have a very close friend of mine who has almost the exact same story. And I think it was 3rd grade for her. And I know another person who's a coach and she works in the health field, and it took her a long time to claim that title of artist. So there's a lot of people that have these things that they've been told in their lives, and it doesn't have to relate to art. It can be anything, but these limiting beliefs, and we hold ourselves back. And the whole time we had this great thing that not only has the potential to heal us, but to give us happiness and joy and clarity about our lives. And it's all because of this one little thing somebody said along the way. And that really excites me to be able to help people see that moment and be free from that. So that's really wonderful to hear another story of how art really opened that door for you, because it opened it to a lot of other things, correct?
Absolutely. And, another whole topic is the link between creativity and spirituality.
I was just going to say, I had that same thing. I mean, I practice art now. I have my jewelry business, and I paint as well, and I write. But, that happened to me. My father was an artist, a graphic artist. And I remember being a child, and he'd say to me, honestly, you're not going to hand that in, are you? It's total rubbish. You're not going to hand that in, are you? And it always put you down. So then you grow up with this, you feel like you are limited. And it wasn't until I actually came to America and I had the time and, just the time to step away from normal working life and actually step into something to do with color and art, that I found out that, yeah, actually, I am good at this. I can do this. And it does make you realize, and I think you're talking about relationships and things, and I think a part of it for me is actually being with like-minded people. It's finding your tribe. I mean, I remember the first time I walked into the art centre, I met another British lady called Caroline. I didn't know her then. I mean, I just walked in and she introduced herself and we talked briefly, and I didn't see her again for another 2-3 years. And then somehow I got involved back with the art centre again, and I joined everything, and I met Caroline properly. And suddenly, everything fell into place. And I thought, all these people that I've met now through the Art Centre, Lisa, Sybil, all these people in this group here, you are my tribe. And that's what it's about, relationships. You have to build a relationship. You've got to have something in common. But like you say, you also have to have the ability to do things on your own and let other people do things on their own too, and respect other people. So that's all I wanted to say.
It's amazing how we can be so destroyed by some comments, but usually early on when we're in our very formative years, and we hold on to them forever. We think we don't, but we do. And it's that niggling feeling, oh, I can't do this. I'm not good at this. Just like, I can't draw, and that's okay. I can paint. And so I draw with a paintbrush. I can't draw with a pencil. I have wiggly, wobbly, very grotesque stick figures, but that's okay. Now, it wasn't, but for some reason, whether it be our parents, in my case it was, or a teacher or some person of authority that says, you're not good at such and such, it's amazing how long we hold on to that. It is, in fact, it was only a couple of years ago that I had something that I thought, well, that was their thoughts. That was their preference. What about mine? And that was their value. Is that my value? And I mean, as recent as age 78, that happened for me. So it's just amazing. And I think, how dare anyone say you're not good at?
Yeah, it's so true. That's great that like, did you feel like a huge sense of relief when you finally said, I can just let it go? Can you let it go and say,
it was,
I'm good at this? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Now
yeah.
you can.
Oh yeah.
But it's great. Like, I would love to see more women earlier, right? All of us, we have the chance to mentor each other.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad you're here to tell Laura, she's younger than me.
Yeah.
And then Jabeen, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Jabeen, maybe she can hear you and say, you know what? Some of the things you've heard from maybe it's a teacher, a parent, or somebody that's important in your life, that may, just question it. It may not be true. If you want to paint, if you want to draw, you know what? I've known people, I was very disciplined and took lessons as a cellist, all, growing up. My mom knows, like, how many hours did I spend practicing? Or I always loved to draw and I always loved to do all these things. And I was encouraged to do that. So I was lucky in that way. But if somebody said something negative and you really want to do it, I've seen many people along my path that weren't as talented. And I thought, how do they keep doing it? Why do they even bother? But the thing is they're passionate and now they live their lives as a musician or as an artist or as a CEO of a company because that was their gifting. We can't allow one comment or one person, they may be very influential, like Lee said, the father, your parents, they're obviously, that's a hard one. Those are hard ones to break, those kind of beliefs, things that you get ingrained. But if you ask yourself, is this really true? Can you let go of it and live a better life? Lori's thinking. She's got a book she wrote on living a better life. I bet she has a comment. I'm going to call my mom out. Do you have a comment? I see you, like, I can see the wheels turning there. You're awfully quiet, Ruth Ann.
Well, I've always thought, I was put down a lot as a child. And so I have still struggle with self-confidence, but I work at it because I know that in order to encourage, I need to know within myself my own worth. And that's one of the things I hoped that I shared with my girls, is that they can do anything they want to do, and to not stop trying, because I don't care who says it's not good. If it looks good to you, okay.
Yep.
It's yours, and no one can take that away from you, and don't let them. And that's part of the thinking that goes on inside when you've been told something over and over and over again, and you believe what that other person has decided you are, until you figure out that they don't get to make that decision. You get to.
Sometimes it only takes a long time.
Yeah.
And it's a continuous work over a lifetime. It was totally ingrained in me that I didn't have much worth, and if anybody stole me, they'd bring me back because they wouldn't want me when they got me in the light.
Ooh.
So that's a pretty tough thing to deal with overall when it kind of breaks your total self-worth. And it took me a long time to even be able to speak. Well, now I guess I'm coming on and on. So that's enough. But
You overcame that one a little bit.
a little bit. And I spent a long time. This has happened to me twice in my life. Once I was set down by something in my life and had to take time out. And this past year, I was set down in my life for 2 long months. I was in a coma at this time last year. And I didn't come out of that until the end of this month. And then I spent another month in a rehabilitation place, which I couldn't walk or talk when I got there. And now I'm without my oxygen during the day, and I'm doing lots of things a little slower, forget things a little more easily. But I got set down again to take another look at, be grateful, and be who you are, no matter.
Well said, Ruth Ann. Ruth Ann, how old were you when you actually felt confident in yourself? What age did you have to get to?
A stupid question because I spent a good share of my life not feeling confident or who I was. I think I was probably 50,
Okay.
52, 53.
Okay. Yeah, it took me till I
had a
was
lot of-
32 to realize that, you know,
Well,
you just got to get on with it.
I managed to pull myself together and graduated from college at 54. And
That's great. I mean, I think it is hard when someone puts you down your whole life constantly, the whole time you're a child. Sybil was saying it's constant every day. That's not good enough. You can't hand that in. That's rubbish. Why are you doing such rubbish stuff? It does grind you down when you're an impressionable, you know, 8, 9, 10, 14-year-old, whatever. It actually slowly grinds you down into a pulp where you do think you're worthless.
Well,
and you
it
actually
becomes a way of
believe
life.
it. You actually believe that you're not good enough. You're not worthy to go out into the world.
Well, we're going into
child. Who does that to a child?
Well, we're getting close to 4 o'clock, and I would say this could be a very long conversation. But I think what she's saying too, because I'm going to let Shabine talk here for a minute, but before she says anything, I just want to comment, like, obviously I know my mom's story pretty well. And I think it's the same thing as we make choices based on what we're comfortable with. And she did that same thing. I did the same thing. That's why I'm married 3 times. And she's married twice. And it takes a long time to figure out who we are and that we're, you know, no matter who we're married to or what relationships we're in, they can't take our spirit. They can't take our soul. And once you learn that, you can have the beautiful life, you know, like Eilzabeth has achieved it. My mom's living in a relationship she's very happy with. I'm in a marriage that, you know, I could have never imagined 20 years ago. I mean, I wake up and he said, "Are you ready for coffee?" You know, just like your espresso time. That would have never happened in the past. So, you know, it's worth the hard times to get to the good times, and nobody can take that what you are born with, that gift that you are. Don't let anybody take it. So Jabeen, let's let you have a word here, because you've come all the way from Pakistan to be with us today. I'm so glad to have you here. Please share. And we had a commonality in art therapy, and that's what I think drew her to us today. What would you like to share?
I'm just so glad to be here. I'm so glad I joined, even though it's like 2 a.m. here right now. Gosh, I don't know where to start. Just that I loved in the beginning when Eilzabeth talked about how art made her face the present, and there's healing in the present. I just could really relate to that, because I remember when I felt that, and it's called being in your state of flow, and I didn't know about that then. I was in therapy then when I felt that. I was painting, and because I hadn't been painting for years, because the same thing, how people used to say, oh, you're not an artist and you can't do this for a living and all of that. And people called me, oh, you're a self-proclaimed artist. And every time I tried to paint, stuff like this would show up from even my family, my friends. They would pick out, faults from my paintings. Your painting isn't good. What is that? What is this? And so I didn't do the one thing that I loved, which was painting. But yeah, once I let go of all those, unwanted advice and unwanted feedback, and I just try to stay in the present and face reality, face my emotions, and let go of what people thought or what my family thought of my painting and all of that. That really helped me find self-confidence, and that's when I really started to paint really amazing things that I just, every time I paint something now, I just sit and look at it and I'm like, wow, where did that come from? So yeah, it definitely comes from letting go of what people say, and the titles and the things that they attach to you. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the term that keeps coming up in my mind, we see it in, a lot of coaches are posting it now, is the whole imposter syndrome, right? Like, oh, I'm not good enough. That's really what it's saying, right? And I think we met just this morning as we connected on a different Facebook page, and I was like, well, all right, I'm actually doing a podcast on this today. But it's just amazing that art has this ability. You were asking the question, do you do art as therapy? And I'm glad that you came and shared that is what you want to do. And I'd love to connect with you more about your artwork. And I hope to inspire other women and men to explore this as an option, because it can be very healing. And I feel the same thing when I've spent probably over the past year, I've had the privilege of having the time to create. And it sounds similar to what you've done, is you do one and then you do another one. And then when you finally let go and you're doing it, and I sit down sometimes, I was telling someone this week, I just start drawing, and when I'm done, I'm like, I don't know where that came from. These are gifts that you're given. And I don't know, but if you don't tap into it, you're never going to know. And if you love doing it, keep doing it. I want to see it in the world. I'm anxious. As soon as I get off of here, I want to see some of your work and what you're doing. Because if it like Eilzabeth was saying, it lights you up, it's going to light somebody else up. And hopefully that's a good place to end here. As I'd say is, hopefully, you found some light in this, you found some joy, you found some hope in listening to Eilzabeth's message. She has so much to share from her journey with raising an autistic child. And I know there's a whole story with that and how he's doing really well now. And she's manifested love in her life, overcoming alcoholism, and the healing through painting. We have rich lives. We have so much to share. And I'm just so glad we all could come to share and learn from each other. It's such a rich tapestry. And we learned we could paint with toilet paper.
Who knew?
Right? You can turn shit into a shiny diamond.
I can. Magic.
Whoops. I don't have to, it's my show. I can say that. It's been wonderful having you, Eilzabeth. Let's close with a nugget from Eilzabeth. If you had one thing you wanted to share today with the listeners about what you do as a love expert or your new book, The Bride Doll, watch for it. Where can they connect with you, and what would you like to share as a closing statement?
Oh, that's big and broad. That's a
I
big
know.
brush there, my dear.
More than the toilet paper.
First of all, I want to thank you so much. You're wonderful. It was wonderful meeting you about a month ago, I think.
Yeah.
And I feel that I've met a new friend, and you're just delightful. This has been a wonderful opportunity and a fun opportunity. So the nugget I want to leave you with is that there's only one important thing in life, and that's love. And if you have love in your life, you're a billionaire. And you can meet me at Nurturing Love Relationships on Facebook. I have a Facebook group, and you can message me at Eilzabeth Nancy Jansen, or I have a website, www.eilzabethnancyjansen.com, and my book Bride Doll will be available on July 8th on Amazon. It's a wonderful read. And my programs that I have available for one-on-one coaching are on my website, eilzabethnancyjansen.com. And anyone who would like 20 minutes to half hour free coaching, just message me on Facebook Messenger, and we can have a free coaching session for 20 minutes to half an hour.
Thank you so much. It was just so enriching, and I feel really honored that you shared your story here with us for the first time. That's all. It's a beautiful story, and it's going to bless a lot of people. And so I just thank you again, and I will talk to you soon, and I hope everyone has a great week. Thank you for visiting us in the Art Together, our monthly 90-minute meeting for the Global Art Café. Everyone have a great rest of your week.